Okay, Ralph here, Steve there. Legal Help Live, 1-800-405-4222. Those are all the salient facts. People are calling us and asking legal questions
A
about,
lot of them today.
yeah, about being run over by mail trucks. We haven't gotten that call yet, but I know that person's out there. What happens if you're in a crosswalk and somebody runs you over? What happens if you're jaywalking and somebody runs you over? Different issue.
What happens if you go in these new crosswalks that you see now that have all these flashing signs,
With the lights,
etc.
yeah.
And it's 10 o'clock at night, and you go in there and you press the button, and you start to walk, and you realize after a few steps that it's not flashing, and you get run over by an uninsured driver, and you're horribly hurt. Who's liable for it?
Who do you go after in that circumstance? Maybe the government entity that put the sidewalk in and the lights in. Maybe that's a possibility.
And what do you do in a situation where you've got a neighbor who's been giving you all kinds of problems, and their house burns down? And
what happens if you live in the city of Los Angeles or a city with a similar municipal code, and your neighbor's dog bites you, bites a neighbor, and bites some other neighbor's dog and eats a cat? Do you have any recourse for any of that?
And what rights do animals have? This is a big area today, and the courts have been kind of opening and moving this area. If your pooch, Saltzman, gets hurt or injured in front of you, can you sue the person that did it? Not for just the cost that you paid for Saltzman, your favorite dog, but for the emotional distress you suffered by virtue of losing Saltzman.
Right. And similarly, your cat Solomon is in a crosswalk and gets run over. Is anybody liable for the cat that's seriously injured? It could cost thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. Or you could be run over by a herd of cows.
Or
one never knows in the city.
Who's responsible in the west part of the city, or in the Altadena, Glendale, north part of the valley, when the coyotes come out of the hills because there's no water or food up there, and it's a dry season, and start eating various animals or attacking people in the neighborhood? Is the government liable for that, for not maintaining the...
Interesting question. Very interesting question. So if you have a question like that, or any question at all, yes? Go ahead.
Or what do we do? And the serious question that's going around now is should we have better gun control? Or can we regulate guns? Is the true hunter a person who needs a semi-automatic 18-shot rifle attack weapon that you can press your finger like this and shoot 18 quick rounds off?
Should there be a new statute, and should that statute redefine what an attack weapon is?
And can you, under
an assault weapon,
under the Second Amendment, require people to only buy 6 bullets at a time, get a license for bullets, not have automatic rifles? Can you license this? What happens if inadequate background checks are done? What do we do about that?
Well, what happens if there's a background check done and it turns out that the information that is brought to light is completely wrong? A gun is sold, and the owner of the gun injures or kills somebody. Is there some liability there for the store that sold the gun? Certainly there's liability for the person who shot, but how about the store that sold the gun to the person?
What about the police officer who stops somebody that they think is drunk, and they decide not to arrest him, and the person drives down the street and a block later runs over somebody in a crosswalk and kills them? Is a government or city or county liable for not taking or arresting that person?
How about if somebody calls 911 and gives the police false information, and the police go out based upon that false information and believe that they're facing a much more dangerous situation than reality presents, similar to the Pasadena police officer in the Kendry McDade case. The district attorney just rejected a criminal violation for Pasadena police officers who shot and killed an unarmed man, 19-year-old Kendrick McDade. In fact, the police officers were responding to a 911 call, and the information they received under 911 was that McDade was armed. Turned out he wasn't, but the police officers thought he was, and they came to that scene with a very specific mindset of the level of danger they were facing, and as a result of that, the district attorney's office just said no criminal violation was committed by the police officers.
Well, you know, then we've got all the situations in Halloween when people dress up in costumes and have pretend guns and wearing all these outfits, et cetera, and get involved with law enforcement and suddenly pull out their
plastic gun.
Their plastic
that
gun.
looks just like
it doesn't
the real
have the
thing.
red tip on it, or it's dark so you can't see the red tip, or they pull out their laser Star Wars weapon, and the officer believes that it's a shotgun or a rifle, and it shoots the person. All kinds of interesting questions. Not lots of answers for any of them.
No, but it's interesting for discussion. And by the way, when you call that 1-800-405-4222 toll-free number and you get onto the show and you ask a legal question and you get a legal answer, you will also get a gift certificate for two for dinner at a restaurant of Steve's and My Choice.
And here's my now case, the case of the year, which I think is quite interesting. Once in a while, I run across these when I'm looking up as to what is sort of interesting on the show or not interesting. But Ghirardelli, which is a very famous chocolate company,
San Francisco,
is facing a class action in federal court because it sold white chocolate chip cookies or chips, chocolate chips,
yeah,
white
chocolate
chocolate
chips. They would
chips.
sell the chips.
And the allegations of the lawsuit says it doesn't contain any white chocolate.
Doesn't contain any chocolate.
Well,
But
it
what
says
is white chocolate?
it says it doesn't contain any white chocolate.
But no, it's all white chocolate. But white chocolate isn't chocolate.
And he bought it, and Scott Miller bought a package of Ghirardelli's white chocolate chips in June, and discovered the next day they didn't taste like white chocolate. And that's now, case has been allowed to proceed as a class action.
So wait, it wasn't even white chocolate?
It wasn't white chocolate. Well, he's alleging that. So for all you candy lovers out there is hope when you buy white chocolate and don't get white chocolate. To me, this sounds sort of like the lawsuits over the hot coffee that spilled.
Oh yeah. Well, that turned out to be a real serious issue with coffee that was artificially overly hot. It was overheated, and it was brewed that way so that I think it was McDonald's, would spend less money per cup of coffee.
Well,
and so it was a profit incentive. They knew what they were doing.
I understand.
And there were some serious injuries.
I understand the nature of the allegations, but sometimes with the judicial system we're dealing with, should we be dealing with white chocolate versus dark chocolate, and whether the coffee's too hot or not, and I may get burnt a little bit, or is that just sort of the risk we face?
And what happens if somebody comes in and eats the evidence?
Living in a metropolitan community, I think that personally the white chocolate Ghirardelli case is sort of like the McDonald's coffee case, and I've heard both sides of it.
That came in with a verdict.
Yeah, well,
We'll see what happens with the San Francisco Chocolate Company.
or it's the administrative law judge who took his pants in or shirt in to the launder, and they screwed up his shirt, and he wanted something like
Like $1 million.
$1 million, and they offered to pay and take care of the shirt, and he said no.
He took it to trial.
He
and
lost,
and I think he had to pay attorney's fees.
Yeah,
It didn't end well. Well, I've got one here. It is out of state. It's in state. It's San Diego Superior Court. This fellow, Eduardo Macias, is on trial for attempted murder. He's in the middle of a jury trial. He somehow hides, he's in custody. He hides a razor, brings it into court, and slashes his defense counsel's face in front of the jury. And the judge told the defense counsel he could no longer represent Mr. Macias, that Mr. Macias had lost his right to counsel. He had to represent himself. There's a counsel standing by to give assistance, but Mr. Macias is now in pro per, meaning he's representing himself. Folks, we've got to take a break.
You don't think an electric razor, substitution might have been a better solution? I mean,
yeah, probably.
Another lawyer and an electric razor.
But then you got to charge it, and you got to do all the cleaning. And
what do you think about, the poor lawyer that's representing somebody and gets a close shave based on that? I don't know.
That's brilliant. I love it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be taking your call, 1-800-405-4222. We'll see you in a moment.